Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. I sound like Casey Kasem when I say that, I think. This is
Request and dedication.
Oh,
Maybe in
man.
your own mind you do.
I do. Well, you know how your voice always sounds different in your head than it does to everybody else?
Right. Yes.
Otherwise, would I really be behind a mic? Because I know you all know what I actually sound like. But I sound really cool in my head, so no.
Moving on.
You're a legend
Moving
in your
on.
own head.
And we're
I
back.
am. And we're back. Okay, so today we are talking about binge-worthy shows. I think that we all have a lot of different definitions of what is a binge-worthy show. And we're going to go all over the board. This is going to be a really fun episode. So today's show is brought to you by caffeine. Without it, binging shows would not be possible. Because, yeah. Well, otherwise you're missing like the middle of the series because you always fall asleep.
Depends on the show.
Yes.
It depends on the show. Okay, so let's discuss actually first off what is a binge-worthy show, and I think this is going to be the fight right from the beginning. In my mind, a binge-worthy show is a show that's sequential, so that you're going from one episode to the next, and it's one continuous story. That to me is what makes a really good binge-worthy show.
I think it
What
makes
about
it
y'all?
easier to binge, but I mean, you
it
can
does.
do non-episodic shows or non-serials that will that you can binge. I mean, like Star Trek's a good one, like Next Generation. It's all Alien of the Week. There's not really like a serialized show, but I mean, you can still watch that, binge that the whole thing through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like CSI for some folks. I mean,
That's one
there
show
was
just
only
repeated over and over
sections.
again.
Yeah, I mean, there was sections.
That's a lot of shows. There's a lot of formulas in shows.
Yeah, I mean, there was episodic ones that were grouped together, and then there wasn't, and then it just kind of flowed. It was awesome.
Yeah, I don't think there has to be like some for me personally, it's not a flow. Like there's a lot of ones that change episodes, change stories. It's the same characters, but there's different things going on. You can
I
still
think
binge
it's like the relationship that you build with the people that are on the show. I think
You
that's
care
what
about the
pulls you
cast.
back. Like you care about the cast.
Yeah.
Like yeah. I mean,
And I think
if
that-
you cry at the end, I mean, my goodness.
Well, you could do that with just about any show. You can watch the first season and then skip all the way 8 seasons up and watch the finale, and you're gonna
Not
cry.
really.
No. But
I've
the
done that a few
character,
times.
that's a good point because you have to fall in love with the characters at some level to even continue watching it.
Like
Yeah.
my favorite show is Scrubs of all time. My favorite show
Oh,
is
yeah.
Scrubs, and it's like it's not really a serialized show. It does like you can skip episodes, but I mean that finale, like not season 9, season 8 finale is like got me. I don't like to
That's
talk about.
made.
I don't talk about the spinoff. The spinoff.
That's like
season.
people talking about Game of Thrones. They're like, no, not season 6.
Yeah,
it's
but I mean, sorry.
I think they hit like like the way that like Psych, for instance, like it was a perfect blend, but like that show was for me and my son, like that was a connecting point in our life, which made that show awesome. And we could go back anytime we want to and start at season 1 and watch every episode, and just like we were back in the day 10 years ago.
I've gone through that show so many times too. It's like it's Scrubs, and then Psych is like right here. Like
Now, I have no disagreement that these were some of the greatest shows ever made. I do disagree that they're binge-worthy shows. Let me tell you why. I like, if I'm watching like a sitcom in like the Psych or Scrubs or Family Ties, Growing Pains, blah, blah. I want to watch my one and be able to just take it all in and then wait and then watch another one. That to me is the difference between binging having a binge-worthy show, and otherwise, honestly, it turns into background noise because it's just like, oh, you can catch a funny thing here, you catch a funny thing there, and it doesn't have the same grab as like a Sons of Anarchy where episode 1 goes into episode 2, because I mean it's telling the same story.
But the comedy can be the thing that grabs you. That's what I love about Scrubs. It's like they have jokes that they talk about in like one episode, and then like 3 episodes later they bring the joke back. or they'll bring it back in another season.
Well, they do
know,
that
like-
in like Arrested Development as well, but I would never binge that show.
Yeah.
That one you have to have a space in between, and I
Well,
love.
I didn't really even like the show that much, so it's kind of
fired.
like.
Well, thank you for being on our
Thank
last
you,
episode.
thank
of
you
Untitled.
for allowing me to have an opinion, Wendell.
You're not allowed an opinion on this show.
Apparently, no,
Come
you're
on.
allowed an opinion as long as it
On
agrees with Wendell.
On an opinion show, yeah, of course you shouldn't have that.
To the Wendell Show.
Oh, that would be terrible. No one
If
wants
I wanted
see
you
all
to have
that.
an opinion, I'd give it to you.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
I'm
I
sorry,
didn't know
I'm
I was
such
your
a-
wife now, Wendell.
I'm sorry, I'm such a jerk. Wow. Oh, you know what
Hey.
I didn't do when we started this show? I didn't introduce everybody
Oh well,
because we
We all
just
know-
jumped into conversation.
we all know who Dub is, so
Oh, wow. I guess I'm the tyrant. I can be Mephisto or
Thank you,
whoever
King
else you
George.
want to call me at the moment. I do stuff on the show. With me is Michelle and John from California and Skeeter. Hi. Sorry.
Hi.
I apologize for not introducing you guys in the
Oh.
beginning, but we just jumped right into conversation.
Such a rude host.
Wow.
Wow. Anybody else want to take hosting duties? I can be you guys today.
The pitchforks are out today.
Yes. This hurts my soul a little bit.
It's okay. You'll be crying yourself to sleep in your gargantuan pillow.
Okay.
Awesome.
Let's get us back on track here for a second. As far as genres, what works? Well, we've mentioned a lot of genres when we've talked about what you guys like as binging shows. What genres work best?
Ooh.
I think
Uh,
sci-fi tends to lend
yeah.
itself more to it, just because you can have a continuing art. It's hard for like a sitcom to do it. I think How I Met Your Mother did a good job of making it to where it's like a continuous story. Like it's not like if you miss an episode, you can like skip to the middle somewhere. You'd miss stuff, and
Yeah.
so like because like they'll make stuff like, oh, and then that's the time about the goat. I'll get back to that later, like that kind of stuff. Like they do crap like that all throughout the whole show, but generally like sci-fi tends to lend itself a little bit more, especially if it's based on some story, like, oh, this happened in the beginning and now they've got to elaborate on this whole world and where it came from.
so like the 100 or something like that.
Lost in Space.
Mystery.
Yeah, fantasy, sci-fi, that kind of stuff. I think like mystery, crime, thriller kind of.
Well, the crime
stuff.
thing I think is a big one.
But the crime doesn't necessarily lend itself to it, because a lot of them, it's like you have the crime of the week and then it's over, unless it's
No,
like you're talking
that's a
like The
procedural.
Killing.
That's a
The ki-
procedural. That's
But
different.
but that's still a crime drama. Like The Killing was a good one, where it was like the first 2 seasons are literally one case, and each episode is at 1 hour of time in that space of the universe.
Mhm.
Or we can just skip clean over that 4-letter show that was on ABC that everybody was upset about, that I think it was the opposite of Found, that just angered everyone.
We don't
What
talk
show?
about that one. That made people so angry.
Lost was
Oh.
absolutely like that one was, you had to follow
People-
it. But
People
in
are
my
so
opinion,
triggered by that.
Oh yeah,
They
fully
are.
triggered. Like
It's pathetic.
I just lit half the internet on fire right now. But like for me, like Sons of Anarchy, Mayans MC, like those shows, like they want to make you watch the next one. The organized crime
Those
stuff,
are crime
Sopranos,
shows. Yeah.
like that pulls you to the next episode, or the next season. Like I binged all of Mayans, and all of a sudden it was over because COVID hit and they couldn't film anymore. And now the next season's finally coming out, so I'm excited to catch it because it follows the next episode, and you want to see like the plight of the head guy, or Jax Teller, what's going to happen, and the
Yeah.
Rico case, and
Yeah.
what's going to happen to Tony Soprano. And
Well, they
Well,
made a blanket. They had a lot of different threads in there, so that
Mm-hmm.
if you weren't following one thing, there's 3 other things you were following. It's like
Well, it
wrestling.
kind of that reminds me like of watching Dexter, because
Mhm.
oh,
Until the last season. We don't talk about the last season.
it's
like
this.
Scrubs.
I know it's like Game of Thrones all over again, but it's like
So bad. So bad.
But I mean, it's the same idea. You're not like there's a common thread, of his interactions in his personal life, blah blah blah. But then there's the, every single episode is going to be, some different.
You have the A
scenario
story and
where
the
he's
B
killing-
story.
Yeah, exactly. So
Well,
I
that's
think
like
that
Doctor Who
helps.
does that as well.
Yeah.
And that's why Doctor Who has survived for 50 years.
Well, they didn't do that. Like, if you watch the reboot, like, it didn't really happen at the very beginning. Like, it had a little
Bad
bit
Wolf?
here and there. But that
Bad
that
Wolf was from episode 1, and that was
no,
the
but it's
whole
not like
arc for
the,
the
it's
first
not like
season.
the crack in the wall like you had like with Matt Smith. Like that one was. Like,
I don't agree.
They tended to like it's really 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 in the background. Like it's just maybe like a quick comment. But whereas like you have like other stuff where it's like the driving force. Like the whole thing with Clara. Like Clara was like that. Her being the impossible girl. Like that was more of a like in your face always. Whereas it's like okay, Bad Wolf was like oh Bad Wolf. Oh,
Okay.
but they mentioned that like in like episode 2.
Well, let
let
me say this, and I apologize to any Doctor Who fans because I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, and I'm not talking about you guys when I say this, but they were expecting the Doctor Who fans to be a little smarter on the first season, and then they weren't as smart, so they had to throw it in their face. Like that's what
Wow.
the
I wish we could all be as smart as you, Wendell.
I don't even.
Oh, stop!
I'm gonna admit I've never even watched that show, and I'm offended. So.
Well,
Thank you.
and I love Doctor Who. I'm a huge fan.
Well, they didn't even really expect it to go past the first season, anyways. Like they're just like, well, let's just give it a shot.
But they still gave
That's
it
why
they gave it a arc that was smart, and that to me was what made it binge-worthy. Because you had to pay attention. It wasn't just because there's so much. That's a show, and a couple more we'll talk about later. That there's a lot that's hidden, and the more you kind of pay attention and watch it all together, the more you see on it, which is fun. And that's what makes it rewatchable, which I think is what makes it binge-worthy.
Well, I think that's what's so fun about a binge-worthy show is that when you watch it, you can like if you keep watching it sequentially instead of like waiting like a week to watch it again, you forget details.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing.
Shows that do need that.
But it's like that it helps to have like those details that they like talk about. It's the same thing like I was talking about like Scrubs. It's like you're gonna miss a joke that they mentioned 3 episodes ago, and unless you're watching it like back to back.
Yeah, but
so then that's the difference between binging a show and just sort of casually watching it. Like to me, binging is you sit, you're behind on the couch.
You can say but
unless you've seen the show, like I've seen Scrubs like so many freaking times. It's like I can have it on while I'm going to sleep and I already know what's going on. Like I can remember the scenes, I can remember the details of the episode. Like last night I was watching the one where Turk learns how to speak Spanish. I didn't even have to read the subtitles. I knew exactly what they were saying because I had seen it so many times.
Well, that's just obsessive compulsive watching of shows.
No, that's not the obsessive compulsive
which is binging.
Yeah. No, that's rewatching, but neither here nor there. But that's honestly, that's what does make it fun. There's things I miss with everything going to binge now. Like for instance, we can talk about the Disney Plus stuff that's been coming out. We have The Mandalorian and WandaVision. Those have been so much fun to sit and talk about in between for the whole week. It's coffee. It's what do they call it? Water cooler talk. Again, and we haven't had that in a long time. That's what I miss with the binge, because once you have the binge show, it's like, okay, I watched it all, it's over.
No, but you can sit there and talk to people about like, especially if
it's not the same.
Well, hold on. Especially if it's a show that like they've only got like they're still filming it, and you only like get to like watch one. Like you may be able to see like the first like season, and then you've got to wait like another year. You and your friends can still talk about stuff like that happened with Walking Dead. All that kind of stuff. Like it isn't just because like I can watch all the episodes, especially if you're watching it with someone. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Especially like he's like for Skeeter with Mayans. It's still an ongoing show. You can still talk about stuff. It just you have more to talk about.
But there is something about that national consciousness. Like The Mandalorian, everybody, my parents were watching The Mandalorian. Everybody I know was watching it, and we were all sitting and talking about it in between. If it would have been the binge, I'll get to it when I get to it, and not everyone's on the same part as you, and it feels very different. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying there are some shows, and I sat later on and watched Mandalorian before the last season. I sat and watched the whole thing because then
I did the same thing right before. Yeah,
it's. And that's great, and I like that afterwards, but I like that initial waiting.
Yeah, I like that better than I think about the Kai. I'm just gonna say it. We did the show, Kai. But
I wish it would have been serialized.
I wish it would have been serialized myself. It was a great gift for New Year's. I mean, my son and I literally sat and watched the first 8 episodes before we went to bed at like 3 in the morning on New Year's. But like now you get through it, it's done. Like you're all, dang it.
I actually binged that show. I didn't actually watch it. I watched it all at once when the last season came out. So I kind of got the benefit of being able to just straight shot it. I mean, over a couple days, but
Yeah,
And I mean, it's nice to have that, but at the same time, there's something about that waiting factor when you and all your friends are waiting at the same time.
I would say like WandaVision does that for me. Like I don't mind waiting for that. It's exciting,
I don't mind waiting for it now. When it was just doing the sitcom stuff, I was kind of like, all right.
Well, I changed my mind after the first. We watched the first 2. I'm like, oh man, they need to, this is. I don't. They need to binge this show because this isn't. Yeah, people aren't going to hang.
That one. The first 2 episodes are kind of hard.
Yeah, unless you know what's going on, and you don't.
Yeah,
that's part of the fun of these episodes we've been doing too.
And there's so much, there's so much to a binge show. I mean, like you said, Dub, like seriously, when you're looking at a binge show, how much is background noise? I mean, I know Michelle and I both said, like, when I was home sick back in 2019, I mean, I would go to bed at night. I had to sleep in the living room, to quarantine myself, but I would put CSI on the TV and it became background noise, in those certain seasons where it's just got that low area, it did become background noise. But and it's those times that you're like, I can't sleep very good, so I'm going to put something on that's going to either A, help me sleep, or B, like kind of hold my attention. And it's weird because shows like CSI, like my all-time favorite, I mean, it's a hairline between CSI and Psych, but like the thing about it was, I mean, the stories, the cast, I fell in love with the cast, and then it ended up being like, oh, I can't wait for that episode. I can't wait for that episode because I remembered, and it just turned out really good.
I think that Satomi was on one of those episodes, and I don't remember which one.
She probably was.
Well, every actor I think has been on CSI at one point.
Yeah, literally.
Everyone.
Like even Britney Spears' ex-husband was on one, I think.
Well, isn't that like what Law and Order became? It was like everybody did their way through Law and Order at least one episode.
Yeah.
Especially when it's been on for like 30 years.
I mean, that's easy. And I say that's the fun part about if you're binging a show and it's been off the air, or we watched it 10 years ago. That to me is a different binge experience than Cobra Kai, where you're watching all together. And honestly, go back and watch Cobra Kai again, and I guarantee you missed a lot of stuff because you binged it, and it's so easy just to get lost. Now, a different example. I watched The Magicians 1 week at a time, and I was okay with it. And now I'm binging it, and I love it because it actually makes sense now.
Because you're catching everything.
That was made to binge. That was not made to sit and you have a week to forget about all these little tiny minute details that they give you.
That's kind of how I feel like about 24. That was like one of those shows like you need to like we started watching it when it was like Netflix get the discs in the mail. And so like it was so rough. Like we had the 3 discs at a time. Me and my wife would stay up till like 3 or 4 in the morning, even though we had work the next day, like watching the 2 discs that had come in and waiting for the disc to come in tomorrow or whatever. Like it is one of those shows that like it needs to be binged, because I can't imagine like watching it from week to week.
Yeah.
Because you forget about stuff. It's like, oh, what happened in the previous hour?
Well, that's a Game of Thrones issue too. I mean, I watched Game of Thrones. I watched the first 3 seasons on DVD, so it's like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then I started watching week to week, and I would be angry every episode at the end. I'm like, what? I mean, everybody's been there. They know what I'm talking about. So, but just then again, I miss that. I miss that wanting to know what's going to happen next week, because, okay, well, one more episode, the Portlandia sketch, one more episode, just one more. And you just kind of, you don't appreciate it as much.
Yeah, I think I binged Game of Thrones. I was able to binge like the first couple seasons or something like that.
But it was still
catch
good?
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, before it went to hell. But yeah, I was able to do that. But then it was so frustrating because then you're done binging and then you have to wait the week. But
Yeah, that one, I loved it, but man.
And then you wait 2 years for the next season to come out.
Oh.
yeah, we don't speak of the end of Game of Thrones.
I'm watching. I'm actually like kind of going through iZombie again right now, and they like make a joke about like what was it, Clive Babineau, the head detective, like he loves Game of Thrones, and they're like, if you really want to piss him off, ask him what George R.R. Martin is doing, because this was like back, and it's like they ask him, and he's like, not writing.
Shut up.
That's harsh. Yeah, and we're never going to know what's going to happen to the real, because he wrote himself into a corner and he knows it, and that's why he hasn't given
he's
the last book.
Just give it up.
He screwed himself, and it's like
it's over.
I have it in my safe. No, he doesn't.
Doesn't have
Let it
anything.
go, guys. You don't got
he just
nothing.
needs to Stephen King it, do a little bit of coke, and then like stay up for 24 hours, like writing it.
We're talking about Coca-Cola.
It'll be like maximum overdrive
Coca-Cola.
or whatever.
Oh, okay. So we talked about what does work with a binge show, what doesn't.
Romantic comedies. That's my top one.
Well, that's just bad anyway. I mean, do you want to sit and watch the single one? It's like it's like watching it's like watching all Pitch Perfects in a row. It's just not right. I'm just kidding.
No, that's the exception. You watch those in a row and you love it. No, like that's like a movie. That should just be a movie to try and binge some series. I don't even know what's an example of like a
what's bad, or just in general, what is bad? If rom-com,
that genre though would not work.
Well, you know what? No, I'm not gonna agree with you, because How I Met Your Mother is one of the best binge shows you can watch, and that is totally.
I just actually did that. Like I just went through like at the beginning, like maybe like a month ago, I went through all of How I Met Your Mother. You know,
is that really a rom-com though?
I think yes.
Yeah,
by definition,
it's a guy rom-com, but it is a rom-com.
Yeah.
Yet Friends, on the other hand, doesn't stand up as well to the binge.
Well, because it's more episodic. It's not like it's like, you know, you have like the story of the week.
Yeah,
it's just a story of the week. There's not so much like an over arc for each season.
And Seinfeld was the same way.
It becomes noise real fast.
Yep.
So I think what 80s 90s sitcoms basically is what you're saying is what doesn't work.
Well, because they didn't do like an overall story. Like my kids are going through they went through Full House not too long ago, and now they're going through Family Matters, and it's like just seeing some of the crap that they came up with. You know, it's like, oh, you've got the sister that gets like written out, like she goes upstairs and you never hear from her.
You never see her again.
Yeah, like, and just they don't even mention her.
Yeah.
You know, just like crap like that. Or like when or they'll like recast somebody. You know, like there's just so many things. It's like, oh, people won't notice. Like on Roseanne when Sarah Chalke got written in as Becky. You know, like
that's the craziest stuff. Like you see, you know, what was the Tim Allen show on the new one, not Tool Time or whatever that was.
Last Man
Standing. Like they wrote out the one daughter.
They wrote out every daughter on that show.
New.
Really?
Except for the one that was.
I never watched.
For the conservative daughter that wanted to join the army.
No, she's not on the show anymore, though.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It's the last season, and
she's in the army.
She's in the Air Force. So yeah.
True.
Oh, she's gone.
Isn't that what they did on like 2.5 Men with the kid?
Oh, that show was. I honestly could not make it through that many episodes of that show.
Yeah.
So what about like?
Tough one.
I think like action, like something that's like action wouldn't work.
You've
got to get to the end.
Well, 24. That was more of a mystery though, too.
But it was an action. It is a total action show. Like,
so when I think of action, I'm thinking like, I don't know, like Terminator movies or Fast and the Furious or like
no substance
something that's
behind it. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't binge anything like that. It's like
well, yeah,
movie. You go to a
rewatch the Terminator series that they had. That's terrible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Walking Dead. But I think that's character driven, so I think that helps.
Because
that's better.
That's more. That's got like the drama.
Yeah. It's a drama that takes place inside of a zombie apocalypse. The zombie apocalypse is not so much in the forefront.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like
About
nonstop, this action sort of it's got a dramatic story to it, I guess, too.
I'm thinking like reality stuff, reality TV,
Oh, that's not good the
like
first time.
it's
Fully
not good the
disagree.
first time,
But it
like,
depends on that too, because it's like the game shows like Survivor or what's it called, Amazing Race, like those ones, like you're just like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen, who's
yeah,
gonna
like
win that, like it's where it's like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, it's like, oh god.
yeah, or
But
what was
people
that Orange County Choppers and anything with
Well, no,
Jesse
that's good.
James
That's
in
good
it,
background
or
noise. You're gonna fall asleep.
yeah,
but people binge watch, like, the baking shows and the cooking shows and things like that.
yeah. Like I
Actually,
binge
I
watched
discovered that.
the like Good Eats or like because I like Alton Brown, like he's a good
Yeah.
guy, or the Disney Plus one with what's his name, the chef, Gordon Ramsay. You
Yeah.
know, that's I just like that show. It's got cool lines. It's, you know, wherever he goes is pretty good. So that's
Yeah.
an easy one to binge watch. It's not background noise because it kind of
Yeah.
keeps your attention. But reality shows in themselves, you just can't. Like Survivor, Amazing
Oh
Race.
no,
You know who wins. You already watched it.
That's
so
yeah.
what's the point?
Yeah, that
Anything
wouldn't
that's a competition that it has the twist ending and the whole thing's leading up to the twist ending, usually that's not going to work as a binge, especially on your second viewing.
Yeah, especially if, you know, I don't want to hear about your alliance. I just don't. I didn't want to hear about
That
your
lasts,
alliance
like,
the first time. I
2
don't want to hear about
minutes.
it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, and let me give you this. This is an example of something that I thought would not work in a million years. And it totally did work as a binge. And it was the first time I watched it, is the What We Do in the Shadows. It's a mockumentary style that it felt like, it felt like almost like The Office, that you're watching the documentary take place. And it's like you're watching it all together. I thought that actually worked, and I didn't think it would. So this is a suggestion on that one. We are going to move on real quick, and we're going to be off screen, and we're going to welcome Satomi on screen, and she's going to tell us about our listener
Yay!
feedback.
And now, let's see what all of our geek rock stars have to say.
Hey there, geek rock stars. We got some listener feedback for you today. We have James Gattenby and Daniel Houston. I say Houston because I'm in New York. Both loved Breaking Bad. Daniel says Breaking Bad, the writing, directing, and acting are phenomenal. You know how a lot of shows have unnecessary drama that seems forced? Breaking Bad executes the drama well and with purpose. The character development causes you to love those you hated in the beginning and hate those you loved by the end. And the nail-biting suspense is some of the best I've ever seen. And James actually said his close second would be Battlestar Galactica. I am with you there, James. Relatively short run, pacey story, intriguing characters, great acting, strong mysteries, and solid world building. He says it's not quite as lean or original as Breaking Bad, which is why he put it second. Now, the voice of the show, Todd Harvey, says, for those of us who occupy the old fart category, very nice. The X-Files was a wonderfully written, excellently portrayed show. A 15-year run is usually comment enough about a show's popularity. Scully and Mulder portrayed such a complex, love, exasperated relationship mixed with science and investigative competence. It made every episode eminently watchable and enjoyable. But apparently for me, not quite pronounceable. Now, finally, our very own Blythe Greeley. He digitally shouted at us, My Hero Academia! Now, if you love the superhero genre and are unsure about anime, he says to check out this show. When he first found it, there were 2 seasons in, and he couldn't stop, and they are now up to 4, and he still gives it a binge watch every now and then. And Blythe, based on your enthusiastic recommendation, I will put that on my list after everything I have to watch for this podcast.
Thank you guys so much for all your feedback. We appreciate it. You guys are awesome. It makes the show better. Y'all know that. We had a lot of feedback, and I'm sure Satomi said that, but just keep putting your stuff in, and we will eventually read you, because there's a lot. It's appreciated. Okay, so before we go on to the main event, I have a question for you, and I want you guys to put your thinking hats on for this one just for a second. John and Skeet already have theirs on. So would the binge movement have taken off if not for Netflix?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Why?
I have a couple reasons. So I think the popularity of streaming services, whether it's, Hulu, like I personally use like Sling TV, something like that, Amazon Prime,
Mhm.
it would have all come about
I don't know.
regardless. I mean, that's where we were headed. And then another point I thought of is it's kind of generational. You've got like the instant gratification generations,
Grow
it's
up,
like
people! Sorry, yeah. I gotcha.
it's
Back
like,
in my day.
and then us Gen Xers, we're just gonna sit there and be lazy and watch it anyway. So
I think what it wasn't Netflix necessarily. I think what started it was when they started to release the TV shows themselves onto DVD.
Mm.
Because
yeah.
that's like what the first thing, like honestly, that I binged was Alias. I like it was the first 3 seasons had come out on DVD, and I ended up buying all of them, and I went through them like super quick. You wouldn't have had like if they didn't start releasing like the TV show, like the seasons themselves onto DVD. I don't think the whole binging thing would have really taken off. Because up until that point, you didn't have that like they, back in the 90s, they weren't releasing stuff on like you weren't getting all the seasons on VHS, obviously because that would take up a whole lot of shelf space. But
Mhm.
like that you didn't have that going on. But then like when DVD came out and you could fit an entire season of shows onto 6 discs, and that's for like an hour show. If it's like Scrubs, it's like 3 discs, to fit all of them onto one thing. So I think that's really what caused the binging to take off. And then Netflix just making it easier with the disc delivery service is probably what really kicked it off.
I think before that though, the DVR, being
But the
able
DVD
to,
thing came out before the DVR.
Yeah, that was before.
What was that first one though?
But people weren't paying as much.
Right, no.
Like,
Paying as much for what? If you
didn't
or the
if you didn't want to pay for
because TiVo cost like it was a monthly cost.
I bought mine was $100.
I remember
that was
I remember you had the TiVo thing, but like
but no, what I'm saying is
started giving it to you for free, and you didn't.
People
have to pay
don't want to spend $30 and $40 for a DVD, but they would be more than happy to do record every Who's the Boss that came on and be able to binge it that way, and that way you can.
But even then, though, you weren't getting it in order, though, so it's not really binging. That becomes like kind of. It really wasn't like a lot of the syndication stuff. They're not necessarily putting in order.
It's the grandfather to binging.
What, syndication?
Well, that's actually the first of it all, because I used to quote unquote binge 4 episodes of Leave It to Beaver every day because it was syndicated and it was on and being. I watched the entire series.
Was that background noise, or was it like you were actually like paying attention to it?
Both. Because it's only 3 and 4 episodes at a time.
Well,
or
it's like
2.
Saved by the Bell. I mean, they would have the hour block of Saved by the Bell, like back to back. So you'd catch an hour block of Saved by the Bell, and typically it would be episodic, so it would be back to back, episode to episode. So you'd watch the Christmas episode in the mall, and that was actually
she's homeless, Zach. Don't be a jerk. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me go take my caffeine pills.
I'm so excited. No, actually, I got into binging for the first time on real binging because of the iPad, the iPod. Yeah, the iPod. John actually was kind enough to buy the Office on the DVD, downloaded it, and I put it on my iPod. My color iPod that was this big, and not that I would watch it at work, but I did for hours and hours and hours. I would sit and watch The Office, and I caught up with The Office for the first time because I didn't watch it before then. I didn't jump on until the last season, but it was that to me was the start. Was the DVD revolution? I think that whether the streaming services happened or not, that was going to happen because of the DVD stuff. And if they didn't have the streaming stuff, it'd be a lot cheaper to get them, I think.
Well, before the streaming service even took off, like you had the
Apple.
Well, no, you had you could get it on iTunes, but also it was the fact that you could get a whole season at a time. Like, I mean, I remember going to Walmart and the TV section was just as big as the movie section at one point. You had like 2 aisles of movies and then 2 aisles of TV shows, and you had all that. Now it's like you go to like the Walmart by my house, it's like 1 aisle of movies, and that's like TV shows and DVDs or Blu-rays, whatever. but like it used to be just as big because like same with like Best Buy. Best Buy used to have like a big section of TV shows, and then you had the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden everybody appreciated being able to watch all these things at once. It wasn't a thing, you know. It was just
Well, I think that was
go get a
also
movie.
But it
It
just
was also when you
but
had
it
TV
became a
shows
thing.
Yeah.
that were doing that wasn't just like the episode of the week or the story of the week. It was an overarching like show. You started to see that happen more and more, and I think that's more when you started to get the TV shows released onto DVD and Blu-ray.
I'm still waiting for Night Court to be released as in a streaming somewhere.
That would
I don't
be
have to pay for.
awesome.
That would.
All
Oh my
four
gosh.
all four of the female bailiffs, all that. Oh my gosh. What, 6 of the defending attorneys? Oh,
They had was it Marsha Warfield on Mark Maron's podcast? Like, you need to listen to that episode. That was pretty cool. Just hearing her talk about her life before she got onto Night Court, and then like how she got
Yeah.
onto it.
yeah, that is, to me, I think the last great TV show that we haven't seen on streaming
Yeah.
yet. But anyway, and yes, when we watch that, no, it's not a binge-worthy show, but I will be binging the crap out of it the second it comes out on something. I have like all the major services. Yes. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's move on to our main event.
Now it's time for the main event.
Okay, so for this version of the main event, we are doing our top 5 binge-worthy shows of any era. So, yeah, I think mine are all stayed in the 90s. So, yeah, because I have a very limited worldview. So, for my number 5 is a show that we've talked about ad nauseum, and I keep talking about it because I want people to watch it so bad. Misfits. It's on Hulu. It is a British show about a bunch of kids that should never have superpowers getting superpowers. Very not safe for work, but just so entertaining top to bottom. Highly suggest watching it. If you guys, and we are going to be doing an episode on that in the next month or two for behind the paywall at our Patreon. Sign up at Patreon and you're going to get a lot more content. Sorry, I had to throw that in. Okay, so Michelle, what is your number 5?
Number 5. Well, yeah, number 5. Let's say X.
Do you have 5 number ones?
They're not really in order. So let's just go with X-Files. Mr. Robot.
You're just gonna do all 5 for one?
Before that. Yeah, because I have favorites. So.
But you didn't want to miss any of them.
Yeah. So, but those, let's put those together because.
Fair enough. John from California.
My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. I'm just kidding. Deep Space Nine.
No, you weren't kidding the first time.
No, honestly, I will say that is a honorable mention. I honestly, the first few episodes watching.
Brony. Wow.
But okay, I have 2 little girls, so like the first time we put it on, I was like, okay,
So
whatever. And then
boys.
I found myself laughing. Like, there's jokes in there that are for the parents. It is actually a very clever show. Like, they'll bring in like pop culture references the kids will never get. And then you're just like, oh my gosh, like they're talking to me on this. Like, well, because it's the lady who did was it Powerpuff Girls, Lauren Faust.
Mm-hmm.
Like she did such a great job just like sucking in the parents too. And I think that was smart to get the parents in on the show as well, getting them invested.
Okay, but getting back to your actual pick on that, Deep Space Nine. Why did you put that above Voyager?
Why did I put that above Voyager?
Usually
Did you
people
really
look
have
at
to
those on
ask that question?
Those are on the same. To me, those are on the exact
You
same.
really
line.
have to ask that question.
He's going to challenge anything you say.
Cisco was only cool when he shaved his head and grew the goatee back. It's true. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, that's like saying Voyager was only good until they finally got 7 of 9.
Well, it helped.
Jeez,
it helped a lot.
No, Deep Space
Nine. We went totally Star Trek geek on this one.
of all the Star Trek TV shows, like I'm not including.
Don't say what you're about to say.
What, that it was it was the best?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it was the worst.
No, Deep Space Nine. No. I think Enterprise was worse, but like Voyager was like not the worst. But I thought Deep Space Nine honestly was the best out of all the next gen TV shows, because I actually went through in order. Like I went through next gen, then Deep Space Nine, then Voyager, And like having seen all those back to back, Deep Space Nine still was my favorite out of all of them.
Fair enough. No, it was very sequential. They did a great job about that. The lighting was different from the rest of the Star Trek.
Well, but it was
The
also
lighting's different.
I think it was more grittier too.
Yeah.
Like, but I felt it was more real in like storylines than just like, oh, we've jumped to warp for this one planet, and these guys have
That's the
suction
worst
cups.
English accent I've ever heard. But yeah, I gotcha. I'm
Is that
sorry.
what that was?
I was trying to do my Patrick Stewart. I wasn't even going for English. It was just
Wow.
Patrick Stewart's like accent that was like a bastardization of like English and French or whatever
That was
it
bad.
is.
Okay, Skeeter, let's move on. What is your number 5, bud?
I'm so glad that you're so complimentary, Wendell.
I love you, John.
So, like with everybody, I think we had like too many to make 5, but I went with another one that has a horrible ending, but I stuck with Sopranos. I loved it. I thought the way that it ran together, like you just wanted to see what happened to Tony Soprano, how this all was going to play out, the up and down of like every bad thing that happened to this guy, like from getting shot to getting
And
car
deserved
wrecked multiple times. Like I never expected like the whole thing to be a journey through his mind. Like I never did. So like starting with the therapist, and I was like, oh, okay.
Now, I did watch the edited for TV version of the entire series, and that was 20 minutes I will never get back.
Right. Yeah. No. But no.
Somebody
Sopranos,
laughs. Thank you.
Sopranos.
This Game of
is
Thrones,
my,
like even less. It's like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it.
Outstanding. Okay, so my number 4, I'm going to make this a tie between Cobra Kai, which we've talked about ad nauseum, so I don't really need to discuss it anymore. And I want to throw in Game of Thrones up to the last season, actually up to the last 2 seasons.
I think that
Just-
goes without saying.
Such great storytelling. Now, it may have gotten so dirty and dark that honestly you get desensitized to it within the first season. If you binge it, you're desensitized to everything by then. Oh, brothers and sisters, and they're on their son's coffin. Awesome. Okay. And it doesn't phase you anymore. So I don't know if that's okay. But it was such a, and I'm not saying that to be gross. I'm just saying that everything in that show is bad. So, but it was so well done that you forget about it really fast, if that makes sense. So that is my number 4. And I mean, everyone's watched this show. We've done an episode on it before.
I actually haven't.
Oh, I want to be there when you watch it.
No, I like
At
I
least
tried
the
to
first season.
I see. I've gone through most of the first season. I couldn't do it anymore. It was just like, all right,
You couldn't get desensitized enough.
no. It just they kept like literally like I don't know. I'm not like so much of a prude, but like the amount of like nudity just in that first season. I'm just like, okay, enough is enough. Like there's really only like one sex scene in that entire show that made sense, and that was like necessary, and that was literally like at the beginning
It's the first.
yeah, the brother and sister is like that actually was storyline. The rest is like, oh, we're on HBO, so we're just gonna show floppy wieners and boobs. Like
But
that's
you're gonna get that on any HBO show. You have to know that going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Michelle,
they got rid of real sex for Game of Thrones.
I guess like I don't know. Like it is like okay, I can't do this anymore. Like
thin line.
Anyway.
Michelle, what is your number 4?
Okay, so
how many of them are there?
I'll just take my other number 5 and it's going to go into the number 4. No, so Mr. Robot, let's go back to that because I actually did binge that.
That is such a
Freddie
good show.
Mercury. I haven't watched it yet though.
Good, and
It's
I love
such
him.
a good show.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
good, and I had no idea, going into it, like what was going to be the plot, the storyline, everything. So, no, love the characters, love the story, and that's the whole thing. Like, I usually know in the first 1 or 2 episodes if I'm going to get sucked in to a show, and that did it for me. I think it was like the first one, and I'm hooked. So
And that connection to the characters, like Remy Malek is a beast, and that
Yeah.
just made it even
I can't
better.
get enough of. Yeah, he's just anything he's in. I have to.
Nice. John?
I'm gonna go with Fringe.
I'm supposed to watch that. We're supposed to do an episode on it.
I know. I gotta
get
how
to
many
it.
years have I been telling you to watch freaking Fringe?
About as long as you told me to watch it at The Office. So a while.
I've even given you the episodes, Wendell. Like I've made it easy for you.
Do you know how many hours I put in a day? I know. I do appreciate it. I am going to watch it. We will do a Patreon episode for it. Behind the Patreon wall. Sign up for Patreon ASAP. Sorry, go ahead.
But yes, Fringe is one of those shows. Like with all the J.J. Abrams shows, it's like it starts off straightforward, and then you take a left turn. But that this takes a left turn within the first 5 minutes of the show. And I think it was such a good, well-written show. It is one of those shows where you have your A story, which is the immediacy of the episode. What is the thing of the week? And then you have, how does this affect the overall arc of the entire show? Because it isn't some shows where you just have one arc per season. It's literally this is the whole show has this one overall arc. I mean, granted you have the season arc and then you have the whole show arc, but it is one of those shows that is such a good, I don't know. There was a little bit of a lull in the 4th season, but still it was such a good show.
Nice. Skeeter?
So once again,
it looks painful.
Many of these
is hard.
Many of these went so many ways. So it's higher, but I stuck with Sons of Anarchy as my number 4. I mean, it's way up there for me just because, once again, the cast, everybody on that show was phenomenal, and you created relationships. You wanted to see people succeed. You wanted to see people get whacked. It was good. Plus, when during everything that was going on, I was on my Harley a lot. I was riding with my buddies. So,
did you buy one of the vests at the Harley shop? Because they actually used to sell those there. Those guys deserve to get beat up. No,
I had my own vest, but it definitely was not that. But I just think that was just everything about that show made it was. They could have made a movie out of Sons of Anarchy, and it would have done very well. It was just awesome. Loved it.
Outstanding. So I'm back up to me, huh? So I'm going for number 3. I'm going for another 2 for 1. I am doing both Letterkenny and Archer. Archer is, I think, one of the best animated shows that you can't look at as animated. Just very well done, and it's just good. And it does have a storyline that is binge-worthy because you have to watch the whole thing. You can't watch an episode and know what's going on because there's callbacks on every episode. And Letterkenny is pretty much the same way. I feel like it's the same writers. It's not, but it's very just. And if with Letterkenny, though, I'm not going to say the whole series at once. I would say a season at a time. Watch the full.
And that's what I appreciate about you, Dub.
What?
And that's what I appreciate about you, Dub. If you know Letterkenny, that's what it is. That's what he says.
Yeah,
and you say that's what you appreciate about me.
Wow. I feel like we can't tell these jokes for Letterkenny or do the quotes because they all are so bad.
Oh.
All of them. Every one of them. Yeah, it's another not safe for work. Okay, so Michelle, what is your number 3?
Along the same not safe for work, would be Sense8. I don't know if anyone's ever watched that.
I want to.
I just finished it. Definitely not kid friendly or but super super good. I can't express enough how I just fell in love with the characters, how the show overall makes you feel. The music is absolutely perfect. Every single episode, the music that's in this is just amazing. So yeah.
John?
We're on number 3. Sorry.
Number 3. You should pay attention every now and again, bud.
Hello.
Wake up, John.
I don't know why I just spaced out for a second. Number 3, How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
It's that, honestly, it's just, I'd only gone through it twice, and going through it the second time again, it's just oh my gosh, so good. It's just such a funny show. The last season kind of was a little Like it was kind of a lull, but like I still think like it's such a good show. Just like going through, like Neil Patrick Harris is like the gem of that show. Like I love him so much in that show.
Yeah, he is brilliant.
And every time they bring in Wayne Brady, I gotta love it. Like,
Oh, is this
I
twin
love
brother?
how you have Wayne Brady who's playing a gay man, and then you have Neil Patrick Harris who's playing a straight like womanizer.
Womanizer,
And
yeah.
and it's like flip the two, like.
So good.
I've met Wayne a few times.
Oh,
and
I know
think
you
that
have.
he's
You've told me
very
some
close.
stories.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I thought it was very funny that they like kind of like switched the two people in real life.
Yeah. Fantastic. Skeeter?
Okay, so I'm gonna go at two ends of the spectrum. I know, and like I'm pretty much with Michelle. Like this is not in any order. It's just a random five. But Saved by the Bell. I mean, got to give it up for Screech.
Oh,
It's
Rest in
just
peace.
sad,
Yeah,
but
that was
rest
sad.
easy, brother. But I met him multiple times at Disneyland. Got to hang out with him because I was a Disney kid, and we did Magic Music Days and all the fun stuff growing up. And he was a Disney kid, so he was always there, not on TV or any of the shows, but he just loved Disney. So meeting that kid was awesome, but that wasn't what I loved about Saved by the Bell. It was just fun. Like it was in a time when things weren't so fun. It kind of gave me a boost. And then, like, the opposite end of the spectrum, I really enjoy Mayans MC. Like, just another
That's definitely a mix right there.
great
Yeah.
show. It is.
you just
It
went.
is. Two totally separate ends, right? So yeah, I
I
think
like heroin and I like meth.
right.
Wow.
Whoa!
Whoa. And moving on.
Yep.
Uppers and downers.
Wow. Okay. Huh. Now to put
So-
us back on our family friendly again.
Number
two is the animated Spider-Man from the 90s. Honestly, one of the best. That and
Is that the Saturday morning cartoon one?
Yes. No.
Okay.
You're thinking of the 60s one.
No, they had one on Saturdates.
It could have
I
been.
remember watching
It was
when you were in high school and I was a kid.
Yes,
I remember.
that was it.
Oh,
That hurts.
jeez.
That hurts, child. But no, that was
Let me
that.
get you a
that
walker.
after the first season, everything is like part 1 through 6 or something like that. And they're huge comic book storyline arcs, and it is so much fun to watch those as a binge. You can watch them on Disney Plus. Definitely worth your time, and they hold up very well. I mean, there's the animation, because it is actually animation, has a little CGI in there. It holds up. It doesn't look dated. I mean, you hear Joe Perry from Aerosmith doing the guitar in the beginning, and just Stan Lee makes an appearance on it, and it's just so well done. They brought in a lot of great characters, but sit and watch those as a binge after the first season, I believe, and then it.
Well, and they
started going
actually
into more.
animated it. It wasn't like the old style of like 12 frames per second.
Yeah, no, it was very well done animation. So I would suggest that. Michelle, what is your number 2?
This is Canadian. I'm bringing in a Canadian show.
I got a couple of those.
Kim's Convenience. Has anyone
Nice.
seen that? It's really good. Really, really good. Instantly you fall in love with this Korean family. They're Canadian immigrants, the parents were, and they're just adorable. But yeah, it's just one of those. It's upbeat. It's heartwarming. It has some really great moments to it. Very funny. But it's just like that wholesome kind of funny.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I like those.
it's really good. Yeah.
John?
Psych. Like
Psych! Oh, no.
I'm sorry, dude.
Seriously,
I'm sorry, Skeeter, but like Psych.
Come
Seriously,
on,
like,
son.
come on, son. Yeah, no, I love Psych. Like, it's such a good show. Like,
Top to
just
bottom, it's fantastic.
Yes. Like, I can't believe they were allowed to make that show because it's so good. Like, usually, like, you have like some network exec that's going to screw it up. I don't know if any of you guys have gone through it, but I went through the audio commentary on it because I bought the series back when like it got taken off of like Netflix and it was nowhere. So I bought like the actual like DVDs and I went through the audio commentary and like it was.
Are you who I got mine from? Yes. Okay.
And pretty much any TV show I think that I've like told you to watch, you've gotten from me. Like I've given it to you to watch. But like the audio commentary is great. Like even then, like that's like something. If you don't have the DVD set, it is worth getting just for the audio commentary on the episodes, because it's so great to hear James Roday and Dule Hill talk about like some of the episodes, like especially when they get Steve Franks, the creator, on there as well. Like, oh my gosh, Psych is such a good show, just top to bottom.
Outstanding. Skeeter?
Sorry, man.
Stole it.
This is why we do these in advance, kids. Because yeah.
So you know what? I'm gonna go back, and I know that we said like sitcoms, rom-coms are a little bit tough, but with the arrival of Peacock, it gave us back some of the old 80s fun stuff. We've got Leave It to Beaver. You got all those Silver Spoons.
Forgot about
Ricky Schroeder back in the day.
Young like Alfonso Ribeiro.
Ribeiro. My Jason Bateman was like the punk kid.
He was the bully.
I wanted a train in my house so bad as a kid.
Didn't we all?
Stand-up video games. Like, dude, I wanted to be that. So since I'm going with Silver Spoons.
That's a great call, actually.
Kicking it old school today.
Okay, now we're gonna do honorable mentions. Here's the rule on it, because we're almost out of time.
Okay,
you can say as many as you want. Do not. We can't talk about why. So you're just going to name which ones they are. Ooh, that's mean. So I got my honorable mentions real quick, and that would be True Blood, Young Justice, all three of them, Buffy, Todd and the Book of Pure Evil, it's Canadian, My Hero Academia, you're welcome there, Blythe, Miranda from Ireland, and Chuck.
Oh, Chuck.
Everybody forgot about Chuck, and that is a binge-worthy show. Michelle, what is your honorable mention list?
You know what? Since I'm not allowed to say why, I'm just going to say Schitt's Creek. Go watch it if you haven't, and I'm going to leave that. That's my honorable mention.
I thought that was your next one.
No, we're just going to go with Schitt's Creek.
Okay. Just because you wanted to say it on air. It's okay. John?
Over and over.
I got Alias, Bones, and Chuck. Like, Chuck, I love that show so much. It's kind of like, when it comes to like pop culture references, it's like Psych and Chuck. Yes.
Nice. Skeeter?
I'm going to go with The Ranch.
I forgot about that one.
The Ranch.
Until the last season.
I love of course, Gotham, Arrow.
Oh, Gotham. I forgot about Gotham.
Yeah. And then CSI is that's it.
Nice. Okay, so now let's do our number ones, and we will get out of here. My number one is going to be the animated series, Ghost in the Shell. Fantastic top to bottom. We've talked about it a million times. If you haven't heard us talk about it before, go check it out. It's the godfather of all modern anime. Michelle, what is your number one?
Again, not in order. Since I already let my Schitt's Creek go. Because I have a sick, twisted mind, I'm going to say Black Mirror. Just because it's so messed up and it's so good.
It's modern Twilight Zone and it's so good.
Yeah, it's so good and so different. You know, like you can go from, well, I won't, but you can go from just there's a couple episodes that are actually not so messed up, not so twisted. They're actually heartwarming and interesting. And then you go from that to like something just awful, but so well done. Like, yeah.
John?
Scrubs. That's always like any TV show, like episode. It's like Scrubs is number one on my list. Number one with a bullet.
It's not going up anywhere else. It's just
nope. Number one with the bullet. That's my favorite show of all time.
It was okay until that last season. Then I loved it. Skeeter?
What, are you talking about season 8 or season 9? Oh.
Season 9.
The one that I love because my kid and I sat forever, watched it through. We watched it on DVD every way we could. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh,
I don't know. It just was amazing. I loved every bit of it. It was so much fun. Then followed up with Cora. We have a bunch of we have a bunch of voice actor friends that were a lot of the voices on both shows. So it was really cool to watch and know who was doing it, and just the show itself. It was amazing.
Outstanding. Well, that was a show, guys. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I hope you're not binging us and you're watching us one at a time, or binge us, however you're going to watch us. I'm good with it. Check out the website, www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use the com. We paid extra for it, and we did revamp it. So, I mean, it's pretty cool looking now. Like our videos, subscribe, share them. That's the most important thing. Join our Patreon. Within the next month, we will have 30 episodes that are available only behind the paywall. So we're working our little heinies off for it. It's
30.
complete. It's got to be worth your time. Exclusive. We let the first one go for free. So
yeah, that's how it works.
That's we just gave you that taste.
Get you hooked.
Get you hooked. So until next time, I'm Dub. I'm here with Michelle and John from California and Skeeter. Keep on geeking on, kids.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.